either somebody is in the midst of adversity or just came out of adversity, or it won't be long before they head into adversity. So you need to be prepared either way. And so we all go through adversity, opposition. I think that's the thing that makes us all in common as people, right? No matter if you're from London, Atlanta, Florida, California, New York, like we're all going to go through something at some point or phase in our life, right? And as cliche as it sounds, when the quote says, it's never about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. That's very true, right? But in the same sense, I think what's most important is when we go through something, what's the perspective that we have of it, right? Because for most people, when you go through something, the person's natural perspective is, okay, what did I lose, right? What happened to me? Like I took a loss, right? People never look at it and say, okay, man, tell me, what did you gain, right? Even though I know it hurt, you didn't want to go through it, but look at it in a way to where you can say, what's the lesson in this, right? What would you say life is trying to teach you from dealing with this? And so never allowing a situation or circumstance to define your life, and understanding that you got something inside of you that's greater than that situation or that circumstance, but you have to constantly believe it. And not only believe it, you have to make decisions and choices every single day to put you a step forward toward what you believe your destiny is. Like I firmly believe in life, it's a lot of moments and it's a lot of people that change and impact your life, right? Like I don't believe it's just one moment and you say, this one moment just changed my life. Even though that moment may have, but it's going to be another moment that's going to shape and change your life as well. Like my arm changed my life, my teacher changed my life.
It doesn't get any easier. You just get stronger. If you want to change, don't expect your life to stay the same. Expect it to get harder. Expect it to actually get really, really tough. Tougher than you can even imagine right now. And this is where you can move past the boundaries that used to hold you back, used to hold you by the neck. Now you can move towards the fulfillment that's your future. And this, you see, this is where you can finally feel the satisfaction of your work. This is when you finally get to feel that success. Now is the time for you to step up, stand out, and become the person you need to become. Your future is in your hands, and this is what sets your life up to be worth the potential that you deserve. Your power is and always has been the thing that's going to take you towards the life that you have earned. Don't fail yourself. Perseverance is the aspect that takes you towards a future worthy of your strength, worthy of your progress. So take pride in that more than anything. You have, and you always will have this potential to improve, this potential to adapt, and this potential to change.
For most people, man, you could be great, but you haven't even pulled a strip off to activate it, right? Like you can be great, but you're living on reserve, right? You didn't empty the bucket, right? You didn't give everything you had to every aspect of your life. Like for most people, they're great professionally, but they end up becoming a public success, and behind closed doors, they're a private failure. Not because they don't have the talent or the skill set, they don't have the character, right? That they can apply it and be consistent in every aspect of their life and empty out everything they got to everything, right? Now, one would say, okay, well, when do you tone it back, right? You find pockets to turn it back, right? Of course, you don't just give everything you got all the time, right? You get to a point to where you learn to be efficient and effective in every aspect of your life. And for most people, it's not a problem of skill set. It's a problem of character. And empty the bucket is having the right character to be consistent and empty out everything you got in every aspect of your life. I think, man, it's funny. I think the true measure of wealth is happiness, right? Like I really do. And that's not saying that I'm against money. I'm not against that at all. Because you gotta work hard, make your money to take care of your family, and be able to bless people. But I think it's a lot of people with so-called wealth, and they don't have joy and they don't have happiness, right? And I feel like joy, happiness, and peace is the most important things we can possess. right? And for most people, the material possessions they feel are the most important. For me, when you got joy, when you got peace, when you got happiness, I think that's true wealth, because you can't put a price on that. And I firmly believe the quicker you can shift your perspective from yourself to others when you're in the midst of adversity, the quicker you'll get through it, right? Martin Luther King has a quote that says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help other people? Now, I'm not telling you to not acknowledge your pain. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you not to say, man, I'm going through this and it's hard. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you go through it, look at it, step back from the picture and say, okay, I'm dealing with this. 9 out of 10 times, there's somebody else that's either dealt with it or they're gonna deal with something similar to this. And if I deal with it in the right way, I can use it to add value to lives of other people. When we go through a situation and circumstance, it's easy to step back and think, man, I just went through this and it's just my experience. I firmly believe when we go through things, it's for us to deal with it, get over it, and reach back over the hill to help another person. And a lot of times, like you said, when you're trying to work through it, you think, man, how can I help somebody? And I'm trying to get through it myself, right? And that's a great perspective, right? But when you get through it, right, maybe you can't help them when you're in the midst of it because you're processing it. But when you get over the hill, I think it's important and I think it's vital that you reach back over the hill and help somebody that may be going through a similar situation, and you can share your values and principles with them, because that experience that we go through and we deal with is not just for us. Man, I think the greatest gifts in life, man, is belief and exposure, right? Because a lot of times, for me personally, the reason I say that is, there was a lot of moments in my life to where it was people that saw things in me that I couldn't see in myself. And they believed in me in a way that I couldn't believe in myself yet. And I rented their level of belief until I got strong enough to possess my own, right? It's like when you're young and they see you, and it's like even when you start out doing what you're doing, you could be talented, right? And somebody older than you or more experienced than you can see you and know like, oh man, if he did this, or if he does this, man, he could be great, right? And they can come to you and say, hey kid, man, you got something, like you could be great, right? Like my teachers and my coaches, when they came to me and they was like, son, I'm telling you, like you can go to college, man. Like you really, I know you're talking about it, but your circumstances are saying different. I think you can do it, right? And when they said it, I'm like, oh, I can do it. Like I can make it happen, because they're believing in me making it happen. I think I can do it. So I think belief, and the reason I say exposure is because, like, I think when you show people things, that's powerful. I think exposure sparks inspiration, right? Exposure sparks motivation. The reason that I think belief is important is because, like, when you're young or when you do something and you're a novice, right? And you start out doing it and you might think you can do something with it, or you might not. You might do it and it's being driven by your passion. And then somebody comes along that's a little bit older or even more experienced, and they can see it in a way that you can't see it, right? And so I think it's important with belief, because if a person believes in you in a way that you don't believe in yourself, you can rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own, right? And you use that person's belief to fuel you every single day, right? Because you can have a level of belief with what you're doing, but you can go back to a certain set of circumstances that tell you, nah, it's not gonna happen. And so you rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own. If I get to the end of my life, and you know, I'm an old guy at the time, and I'm sitting back in a rocking chair on my porch with my wife, and got a head full of gray hair, and our kids come up, and we're just chilling out, and I've accomplished a lot, and my wife is sitting there, and my son and my daughter comes up, and they say to me, like, Dad, man, you accomplished a lot. Like, you're a great player, you've done well speaking, but we feel like you're a terrible father, right? Like, what would it be worth for me to accomplish, gain, give them certain things, and suck as a father, right? My wife got me aside and said, hey man, you've done really well speaking and like your athletic ability, but you're a terrible husband. What would it be worth, right? And so for me, I feel like the greatest gift I could ever give to my children is showing them that I honor, love, respect, and admire their mother, right? The greatest thing that I could ever give to my children also is not something that I can give to them. It's the things that I will leave in them, the principles, the values, the guide, how you treat people, how you live your life, how you make decisions and choices. And so family is something that's very important to me, right? To be honest, I don't think a person, you know how a lot of times we consider someone to be great, right? That guy's great, right? Like for me, the true measure of greatness is if you can reproduce it in your family, like with your children, right? If one day your children come up and they're great, not great in athletic ability, no, great people,